Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to read an entertaining article, which is titled, I Regret Leaving My Husband for My Lover. And a shout out to Tom for sending in this article. And guys, what we have here is yet another article, a lot of these popping up lately, about a ex-wife who's now regretting leaving her husband, her good husband, for her lover. For a guy that gave her the butterflies, the thrills, the excitement, and it's all coming to reality what life is like with that guy. And it's interesting, guys, because this is probably the third or fourth one I've done like this in the last maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks tops. These articles are popping up left and right because these idiots always seem to think the grass is greener on the other side, leave their good husbands, and no guy's perfect, but generally these are good husbands, for Chad and Tyrone, and then once they have what they think they want, guess what? They're still not happy. And meanwhile, usually the ex-husbands are like, whew, after a while, move on, and here you go. And I'll be going to go over here, guys, making the point that you're just going to see more and more of this. And for those of you guys that maybe are going through a divorce, something like this, understand that you will have the last laugh, because the odds are it's not going to work out the way she wants, and you'll be single with a second chance and a clean slate, and there you go. She'll be, whine and complain about it. But before I get to the main event, guys, I'm going to jump into a new segment to the channel, which I call Idiot of the Day. I mentioned this yesterday in yesterday's video, where I will take a couple of minutes to cover a clip of the social media's interesting folks out there and pretty much roast them. And today's Idiot of the Day is an individual I will call Bessie. And you'll see why in a second. And Bessie's not too happy about the lack of attention and validation and acceptance that Bessie is getting from the public out there. So Bessie's decided to go on TikTok and whine and complain and have the victim mentality, hoping to get some pity and change the world. And you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'm going to be really honest. There's a lot of really fat-phobic people out there. I was a go-go dancer, and the amount of money that I made versus the amount of money that the thin people made was not the same.
Holy crap. Now we know what it will look like if Lizzo and Jabba the Hutt had a child together.
Sometimes people don't even feel comfortable putting the money in my underwear, but people are really awkward with should I touch you? Should I? And I see them fully touching other people. So those are little reminders that people still have a lot of work to do around their fat phobia.
See, you're an idiot. Putting aside your whole obnoxious victim mentality, people are allowed to be attracted to whomever or whatever they want. And the majority of people out there are not at all attracted to overweight or obese individuals. Okay? And if you're not happy about that, do something about that. It doesn't mean that these people who aren't attracted to you are showing discrimination or fat phobic or any of that nonsense. That's a bunch of crap. People are allowed to be attracted to what they're attracted to. And usually attraction is not something they choose. It is what it is. So stop whining about it, stop complaining about it, and do something about it. Because nobody cares about your belly aching and crying on TikTok. What you need to do is put down the bucket of chicken, get on the treadmill, and start working out a lot. And cancel your membership to the buffet, and you start doing that, trimming weight, and also you lose that victim mentality. Maybe some people will be into you and checking out your underwear. So there you go, guys. No joke. This is why I'm doing this. So moving on to the main event. The title again is I Regret Leaving My Husband for My Lover. So it starts off, says here, I thought the grass was greener, but it is not. I often look back at my marriage and wish I did things differently. Hindsight's 20/20. Too bad, honey. Divorce. Once rare and stigmatized has become mainstream. 42% of marriages now end this way, meaning nearly half of us can expect to experience it in our lifetime. The number's a lot higher than that. Just as every marriage is different, so is every divorce. In this column, divorcees reflect on their life-changing experience. Helped by the benefit of hindsight, they'll share their advice and reflections. So here we get into the confession from this woman here. She says, I had been married for 7 years when I met John. I was at the office Christmas party. I looked up and there he was. Standing at the drinks table, he looked at me, gave me a wink, and handed me a glass of champagne. I don't know how to explain it, but it was very electric. The next day he texted asking if I'd like to meet. There you go. The Christmas party, huh? Ooh. Holiday party, don't mean to offend anybody. Bullshit. Christmas party, it's always been a Christmas party. There you go. She obviously set herself up for this. She was looking for it. I look back at it now, wonder what was going on for me back then. People talk about the 7-year itch, and I wonder if that was that. However, I think it's a bit too simple. My husband Michael and I have been together since we were at school. We were 13 years old when we met. I remember he used to tease me because I wore my hair in plaits. The hell's that? Plaits? Like a plate? I'm thinking like Princess Leia haircut, the Cinnabon? I don't know. It's spelled Plaits. Maybe some of my 4%ers can tell me what the hell plate haircut is. We were friends even though people used to gossip about us being in a relationship. Well, that's what kids in school do. But at some point, at around 15 years old, we went to a party and got drunk, and then we ended up being boyfriend and girlfriend. Well, we got married at 25 years old. Everybody was delighted. I've been with him for a decade, and so already felt part of his family, and he felt part of mine. Well, man, a junior high romance. That's great and all, but the thing is, that she never had any other boyfriends, he never had any other girlfriends, and that may work for some people, but for others, it doesn't. This is why it's ideally you get a little experience, and I say a little. Some people disagree with me, but you can have these virgins that are only with their husband, and then later on in life, they're wondering and all that. Neither of us had had a relationship with anybody else. The only person I really knew was him, and he seemed to be everything to me. He felt the same way. It seemed totally natural for us to get married. Then some unexpected events happened. My mother died of cancer very suddenly 3 years into our marriage. I thought Michael would be more supportive than he was. He'd known my mom for over a decade. I fell apart, and on some level, I don't think he really understood me back then. It might be unfair, but I felt so lonely in my grief. So here we go, already setting the stage to blame him to justify her actions. Okay, all of us have or will experience loss in our lives of loved ones, parents, siblings, all that, and it's hard. And people will respond to it in varying ways. But that doesn't mean you blame the person you claim to love and want to spend the rest of your life with, because maybe she wasn't communicating in a way that he understood. But she just expected him to understand and read her mind and read her heart. It doesn't work that way. I now think he probably fell apart. He just didn't know how to tell me. He was probably trying to be strong for me, but I expected it as him being as disconnected from my feelings, so I thought I was grieving alone. We also struggled to have children. I just could not get pregnant. It was terrible. It felt as if we had failed. If we loved each other so much, why couldn't I have a baby? It made me doubt our love. I know it's illogical, but it did. Right there. I'll read that again. She says, I know it is illogical, but it did. Usually women go with feelings as opposed to facts. That's the nature, and it's ridiculous. No, your love didn't fail because you couldn't get pregnant, honey. Obviously, something else was going on. Not his fault. Well, we were married for 4 years, and we spent the next 2 years doing IVF, which was totally not what I thought my life would be. I was injecting myself with hormones. We were having you-know-what on demand. Everything I thought my life with Michael would be was turned on its head. Nothing was fun, and I think we ended up really not liking each other very much. It put a strain on our marriage. Well, this is unfortunate, and life's hardships definitely can test relationships and love and loyalty. But again, it doesn't mean you betray the guy that really loves you. So a couple years later, when I met John, everything felt electric. I couldn't help but reply to his text. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. You didn't have to do that. And clearly you sent the signals out to John at the party, the Christmas party, and that's why he pursued you. I told him I was married. I told him it wasn't a good idea if we met. But he came back and said, it's only a drink. What's the worst that could happen? Well, John's a Chad, and as a Chad, he's a scumbag going after a married woman. But obviously this guy here, John, that's his code name, probably has a history with married women. It's a challenge for him. And then the second it got boring, he's gone. Well, that was the beginning of our affair. I told myself it was fine to meet him. I reasoned with myself, if I had been with Michael for so long, I was allowed to have a little flirt. I found myself saying to John that I would meet him. The truth is, I just wanted to. The first time we met, I felt such an intense rush of excitement. I met him after work, but that day I made a real effort to dress up. Pencil skirt, freshly ironed shirt, high heels. I thought Michael might notice. I dressed a little differently, but he did not. Know what she did there? She dressed up for the date, because this was a date. This is why you pay attention to these things when your wife or girlfriend suddenly changes her attire, amongst other things. But she mentions that her husband didn't notice. This is little things they do to justify the action. He doesn't notice. He doesn't notice me. He didn't notice I just dressed up. Therefore, By the time 5:30 p.m. came, I was due to leave the office and meet John in a wine bar. I felt sick. There was part of me that knew I shouldn't be going. But there was another part of me that was compelled too. I walked in that wine bar with my heart pounding. We'd chosen somewhere miles away where I worked. I kept telling myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was only going for a glass of wine after all. But I knew it wasn't something I should be doing. Married women are not supposed to be going to drinks with men they find attractive. That's half true. Married women should be going to drinks with any guys. Period. If it's a family member, okay. If it's a work outing and you're with other co-workers, okay. But if it's just another dude, no, not at all. Well, we had a brilliant evening. I drank way too much. I felt lightheaded, but I also felt attractive and lit up in a way I hadn't maybe ever. It was completely different from now how I felt with Michael because I met Michael as a teenager. I felt like an adult woman. He obviously fancied me because he kept touching my hand and then my leg, and by this time we left the bar, we were very obviously going to have a physical relationship. Well, now she mentioned that she drank way too much because now, she can put on the alcohol. I was drunk. I remember kissing him in the alleyway, not very romantic, but very exciting. That's the alcohol's fault. Well, both these two are scumbags. The funny thing is, John probably has 2 or 3 different married women he's doing this to. Well, I went home that night as if I didn't feel guilty. I almost felt entitled. Hear that? Well, my husband didn't notice I dressed up, and my husband isn't reading my mind, so therefore I'm entitled to go cheat on him. I told myself it was right to have my fun. I don't think Michael had found me that attractive in a very long time. It wasn't just that my body was aching for someone to want me. I wanted to get away from the pressure of the family. My mother's death, my inability to get pregnant, and everything that went with it. I wanted a break. The old break, huh? Now, if you're going through hardships and stress, I can understand a break like a vacation, or maybe if things are really bad, like a sabbatical or time off. But no, we're talking about a break. And we know what happens then. But of course, this was not what happened. The affair started after 6 months. We both admitted we had fallen in love. Sure, honey. It was actually a very magical time, but I now think a lot of that has to do with the excitement of sneaking around. Ding, ding, ding. There you go. The excitement, the butterflies. You think nice guys give women this type of excitement and electric feelings and all that? No. It started with that drink, but pretty soon ended up with being weekends away. It was so thrilling and different. Weekends away? Where the hell's your husband? I felt very grown up. I bought lingerie. I invested in myself. We had incredible loving. John took me away to Paris for a weekend, and I remember looking at him when we took the boat down the Seine thinking, I'm truly in love with this man. What the fuck? Again, where's the husband? Oh, let me guess. She probably said she was on a girls' trip or something like that. Meanwhile, everything at home got very difficult. Well, that's going to happen when you're having an affair. You're not exactly be investing in the relationship. Michael probably knew something was going on, but he was very involved with trying to build his marketing business, and maybe he just didn't want to raise it with me because he was scared of the outcome. Or maybe Michael's playing it cool, knows you're cheating, and playing the long game to dump you. In the end, it all came out after about a year when Michael looked through my mobile phone and found the text with John. Well, let me guess. She was in the fucking shower when this happened. It always happens when they're in the shower. I think she wanted to get caught. Michael was incredibly hurt. A lot of damage had been done, and my family were very unhappy with me, with my behavior, as well as Michael's family. But once the affair was discovered, a momentum just took over. At times I thought it was all going a bit too quickly, but it ended up with me telling Michael I wanted a divorce, and John and I eventually moving in with each other. I couldn't see how we could stay together given the hurt I caused I was so confused. There's a typical answer. I'm so confused. Bitch, you're not acting like you're confused. You're acting like you know exactly what you're doing. So he's hurt. Her husband's hurt. Both sides of the family are hurt. She doesn't care. It's the guy that gives her the butterflies. The emotions, that's going to always trump. I said Trump. Is always going to trump logic and reason every time. I would like to say that there was a happy ending. Uh-oh. But I cannot. My relationship with John started with a set of lies, and of course, affairs are thrilling, but living with someone is completely different. Oh, things aren't as magical anymore, and she did use magical earlier. Although John and I are still together, we haven't gotten married, and I ask myself why. Because that type of guy isn't the marrying type. Wouldn't it be funny if this dude's banging other chicks on the side? I wouldn't put it past him. I'm not sure if it's really going to work out. Mainly, I'm in no hurry to do it again. Our relationship started with two people having an affair. We lied. Is that who we are? It is. Could we do that to each other? I miss the history I had with Michael. You can't have it both ways. Michael, nobody's perfect, but it's interesting when these stories come about. Usually the wife or ex-girlfriend are making the guys like the villains here. Nobody's perfect, but I think Michael's probably a decent guy. Too bad. We really knew each other. It is taking me some time to understand that. We had known each other for so long that in many ways we know the essence of each other. Here we go. Missing the old times, missing the ex. Not happening. My advice now to myself and other people would be to invest in some serious good couples counseling before making difficult decisions. I thought the grass was greener with John, but it isn't. I miss my husband. I miss our connection. Too bad, honey. You had your chance. Not once did you hear anything about her trying to communicate with him about various things, trying to work on things, Nope. Now she misses him. I often find myself looking back at my relationship with Michael and wishing I could have done things differently. If only I had known that back then, I think I would have made a different decision. And there you go. In other words, I screwed up. My relationship with John stinks. It's not all what I thought it would be. He ain't going to marry me. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he cheated on her at all, but she's not mentioning this. And now she's longing for the old days with Michael. Grass is green on the other side. But you know what? Too bad. And this happens all the time. Every article I covered like this in the last month or so, it's always the same ending there. And they're telling people out there, don't do what I did, blah, blah, blah. But do they listen? No. So anyhow, guys, if you're going through something like this, you're recently divorced and hurting and all that, understand it's very likely that the guy she left you for, or assuming that she can have the better life, even though you've been a good husband to her and she put all the blame on you, it ain't going to be so rosy. The grass ain't greener on the other side. And those types of guys that she left you for, or just the freedom or trying to monkey branch, it's not going to work out. Will she come back? Well, a lot of times they do come back when things get bad, but if she doesn't know, it's not going to be so easy. But you guys understand you can rebuild yourselves and start over, but hopefully wiser the next time. But anyhow, guys, and yeah, like in the beginning of the video, I said the idiot of the day. Well, we have another idiot, this woman doing this whole story here. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you find a good article you want me to cover or a personal story you want to send in my way, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.